Arctic Monkeys, The Car, album review. Let's chat about it. Hey friends, what's going on? John here from What's Spinning here tonight to chat about this latest album from Arctic Monkeys, UK indie rock darlings, a band that in the mid-2000s absolutely blew my mind and jump-started a love of indie rock within me that I did not see coming at the time. Their debut album, whatever people say I am, that is what I'm not. It's one of my favorite debut albums of all time. Great energy, sharp riffs, big hooks. What else could you ask for? It was really a game-changing album for me, and it's one of my favorite debut albums of all time, like I said. And while not maybe the jolt that I needed, or maybe not as genre-defining, I still think that their follow-up album, Favorite Worst Nightmare, honestly, it doesn't get enough credit because, God, between tracks like Brian Storm and, oh God, D is for Dangerous, there is so much good material here. Now, I'm going to be honest, and this may come as a hot take, but for quite some time after that, I was not really in on Arctic Monkeys' output. The more alternative rock-driven Humbug and Suck It and See. I mean, they certainly have great singles and iconic tracks, but as an album, as a whole, I personally thought they were kind of lost meandering around. I just missed the rawness, the energy of their early releases, and I thought that they needed a little bit of a jump start. And I don't care how mid it is, I still really love so much of AM. It is genuinely solid, modern alternative rock, and yes, it's clean. Yes, it's very polished. Now, this leads me to their last album, 2018's Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino. This album had a lot of mystery leading up to it, and there were no singles driven. They wanted it to be kind of a shock to the system, and we certainly got that with a totally new sounding Arctic Monkeys that was much more focused on sort of spacey lounge music vibes. But the performances here and their dedication to the sound actually made it a really compelling listen with a ton of replay value. But it was such a shift in sound at the time. I totally understand if you don't enjoy it. I really do. That leads me to this latest album, which, I mean, for the most part, I did enjoy the singles, but I'm always curious to hear what Arctic Monkeys are doing these days. Let's chat about this new album. This album starts off with There'd Better Be a Mirrorball, and honestly, this track has captured my heart. I absolutely adore it. In a lot of ways, this is exactly where Bass and Casino kind of left off. It's very loungy, it's very glamorous, and I personally love the pomp and circumstance, the drama here, the pageantry as well, and hearing Alex Turner, how much he's grown as a vocalist and a frontman, take us through this track, it's actually pretty wowing. If you didn't like their last album, trust me, this is not going to help you in any way. It's probably going to be more of the same to you. But as far as a single goes, in sort of art pop and chamber pop genres, this is about as smooth as anything else I've heard this year. I really do love I Ain't Quite Where I Think I Am as well. This one is a real left turn. This one's pretty far out there. It's much spacier and funky as well. Not only that, but I really do love Alex's very paranoid performance on this track, as well as some of the production tricks. I'm impressed with just how big this sounds, and what makes this much newer sound of Arctic Monkeys work is their dedication to it. They go full ham on a lot of this album. They just dive headfirst into it. The serious drama behind this album continues with Sculpture of Anything Goes. Like, listening to this track and a lot of tracks on here, I feel like I'm watching some weird sort of artsy movie that doesn't have much of a direction at the time, and just watching it and being kind of curious to see what happens next. It kind of makes my head spin, but I also kind of like that. This is also one of those sinister and dark tracks here. It really does have a lot of tension to it. The way this track just rolls on so slowly, and it gets so deathly quiet at times as well. It's impressive and really compelling. And the continued wall of sound that we get here, and just how vast this comes off. It's a really great sound for them. Jet Skis on the Moat, on the other hand, is a sort of stripped down and funky lounge jam once again. But Alex is just so enigmatic throughout these recordings that I just love just sitting around and seeing where he's going to take us. It's not overly flashy, but it's so groovy and slick. It's still really tough to classify, but it's really freaking cool. So clearly, you know, they are still bringing the mystery and the drama of this new sound and doing really well with it. I think this album is very solid, probably on par with Bass and Casino as far as an album. The only problem is when they miss, I just find myself missing classic Arctic Monkeys so much. Like Body Paint, for example. Boy, this track is a stinker. My initial thoughts hearing this as a single about a month ago was, well, that was not very good. It's only lessened on me since I think it's the worst track here. This instrumental is really bland, and Alex just sounds clumsy here. His falsetto is not on point. This is a car crash of a track, and they've been doing this sound that they've been, working with on the last two albums for quite some time now, but here, this sounds like a one-off single that didn't go well. The spacey funk of Hello You is unbearably cheesy. The instrumental once again is awkward, and Alex sadly does not sound like he's up to the task. It's just not my cup of tea, and it's a shame because you can tell they are trying between the woodwinds and the strings. They are classy. Not only that, but there are things about this album that I think are some of my favorite elements of this project, but it all comes off so cookie cutter here. As a matter of fact, this track could be used as an argument against the modern Arctic Monkeys sound. Mr. Schwartz as well, this track just is not my cup of tea. I mean, by this time in the album, I would totally have been okay, almost craving a sort of stripped down, more indie-focused jam. And that's what we get here, but God, it comes off so lukewarm. It comes off as way too much of a leap. But still, this once again very spacey deep dive into kind of lounge-focused chamber pop and art pop is very fruitful. I really do love this album's title track, The Car. I love the wonderful, sort of whimsical, swirling drama that we get on this track, as well as just how cinematic and surreal it gets. It's one of the shorter tunes here, but it has so many layers and details to it. It makes me want to dig deeper once again. Much like Bass and Casino, this album has a lot of replay value. Big Ideas is really great too. This, once again, reminds me very much of where they were on their last album, but it doesn't come off rehash. It comes off as classy. It's laid back and definitely lounge-tastic, and honestly, Alex's vocals are so silky, smooth, and soulful. They melt into this instrumental. I love how smoky and graceful it is. It's a really great late album treat, and perfect sense as a finale, pun intended, as a finale makes perfect sense. I love how regal and classy this track comes off. The strings are lush. Alex sounds full of life. The strings are a great addition. This is just a wonderful little wrap up to this album. I kind of have exactly the same feelings of the last Arctic Monkeys album with this new one. It's certainly interesting and compelling. The replay value is here. I love the drama of it, the performances, and I commend the way that Arctic Monkeys just continue to go so deep and so headfirst into this sound that they make it work. And listen, if you're missing the classic sound, this ain't gonna help. If you weren't into their last album, you're probably not gonna be into this one either. But if you are interested in a very spacey, loungy, soulful, compelling album with a ton of great details, great production, really awesome performances, from the Arctic Monkeys, check it out. I think it's literally on par with their last album, which means I'm feeling a decent 7 on this album. But let me know what you all think down below. If you like the video, be sure to give us a like, give us a subscribe, and let me know down below what you would like for me to chat about in the future. And until next time, have a great day, friends.